Welcome to Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship with Ariel Shaw, MBA. We want to increase your bottom line and create generational wealth that lasts way beyond you. It's 2024, the year of reinvention and domination. Our 2024 media participants include Kenya Simmons of Kenya Simmons Real Estate and T&J Industries Development and Contracting, Monique Gibson of Our Rising Angels Personal Care Home, LLC, Demetria Winters of Black Butterfly Queens Life Coaching, Yvette D. Best of Best Services Unlimited, LLC, Michael Williams of Michael Williams State Farm Agency, and Alicia Williams of the Dazzling Diva Collection. Again, welcome to Women, Wealth, Entrepreneurship with your host, Ariel Shaw, MBA. This is Season 5. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship. I am Ariel Shaw, founder and president of Southern Crescent Women in Business, and we are so excited to have Miss Gwennetta, Dr. Gwennetta, with us today. Gwennetta, please introduce yourself. Who is Gwennetta?
Well, thank you, one, for having me. So, I'm Dr. Gwennetta Wright. I am a serial entrepreneur, tax strategist, realtor, media mogul. I do so many different things when it comes to business. But ultimately, everything in business that I do, my values and my motivation is to inspire, to educate, and serve. So I have multiple businesses in different industries.
All right. So you mentioned tax strategists, but you do more than that. Can you talk a little bit about what those businesses are?
So, one, I have a nonprofit organization that I'm a CEO of, which is called Reach for Your Dreams, Inc. We teach and educate people in reference to reaching for their dreams when it comes to life skills, entrepreneur education, and then just doing community service as far as giving back to people for different aspects of their lives. I'm a realtor in Georgia, licensed realtor in Georgia. I've been a realtor for the last 18 years, I think. 18 years. I also own a fashion brand, which is called Pretty Essentials. It's a clothing boutique for women. And I am also a tax coach where I teach other tax pros on how to build, grow, and scale their tax business to six figures and beyond. And a couple other stuff, but we ain't got to go into all that.
Now, I get questions on how do I do all that I do, but I have to ask, how are you doing all of this? Because now we're all for entrepreneurship now, but a lot of what you're saying is service-based. So how does that work if you are the individual having to provide that service?
So it's about, one, prioritizing like what season you are in when you come to your different businesses. Like with a lot of my different businesses, either they're a business that you don't necessarily have to work every single day, like for instance, real estate. I don't necessarily promote that on a consistent basis, but people refer people to me. So I actually am able to sell and help buyers in real estate. When it comes to tax services and tax planning, tax season for people, they think it's seasonal. It is year round. We do taxes year round. But the bulk and the peak part of tax season is only 4 months out the year. And then when you talk about the nonprofit organization, just depends on what we're doing in different seasons. We might be doing some community events, but that's maybe not something you got to plan on a everyday basis. So it just depends on what profession it is. Now, sometimes it do get a little complicated because you're trying to do so many multiple things. You have to be so many places, but to me, that's where team come into place, and then it comes time management come into place.
So what about the retail business? Because now the retail is that peak season as well.
No, that is year round. And that has been one of my biggest challenges to date. I have actually I had for 2024, I have not pushed my fashion brand as much because of me actually having to be so many different places. Now, originally when I did start my brand, I didn't put myself in place, meaning I didn't expect for me to be able to push that brand because I had other entities that I had to manage. I had a personal assistant at the time, and I trained her to be able to work that on a daily basis. But with the economy shifting so much, I no longer have a personal assistant. I definitely didn't know where the brand was gonna go, right? And so I had to put that on pause. So I still, of course, promote it, do vending events, but it's not nothing that I'm just pushing a whole lot, and I'm actually taking a loss at this time. But I know that eventually I'll be able to get back on track. But sometimes you have to again prioritize, see if you can, do you need to let it go? Can you hold on to it until you're able to feed into it? So those are just decisions that you have to make as a business owner.
Absolutely. I mean, every every cycle, and I know if you've been in business over 10 years, has the what you call the ebbs and flows, the down
Yes.
markets, the up markets. What would you say this market has been like this year, 2024?
It's been real hard because the flow of cash for a lot of consumers have been hard. It's been based off of what their need versus on their wants. And when it comes to, say, for instance, fashion, that's more of a need versus a want. And then you are competing against so many major brands. So I tell people, like for instance, when it comes to like Shein and Temu, those are two popular fashion brands, right? So a lot of fashion people that are owning boutiques and different types of stores, they're having to pivot because a lot of their stuff that they sell, we sell in our boutique, but their prices are cheaper than we get wholesale wise. So you have to kind of see like what works for you. So for me, actually, that's why I'm having to pivot because I don't feel like I can compete or my brand is not out there enough for me to compete against those types of consumers. So I think when it comes to what the economy is right now, going back to the question is the cash flow of the consumers is still, people are very more cautious with what they spend and who they spend it with, and so it's a lot of more footwork has to be put in place and for you in order for you to attain a client or a customer.
So, your real estate side, are you primarily doing commercial and residential, or are you primarily residential?
I primarily just do residential, and I primarily work with just buyers. And that's one of the things I don't do as often. I really kind of do my real estate business based off referrals.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Now, talk to us about taxes. Because would you say that's your main business? Okay.
Absolutely. So and that's why I would tell any entrepreneur, you can do multiple businesses, right? But if you're going to do multiple businesses, you need to have that one main source of business is going to be able to carry you. If you don't have that one main source, then you shouldn't be having a whole lot of different businesses because ultimately that your cash flow is going to be ate up, right? So for me, taxes is my I call it my bread and butter. Even though I make income in some of my other businesses, that's the one that keeps me afloat and my other businesses afloat when we're not all the way together. That's my first business as well. So of course I'll put more into it than I have into in any other of my businesses. And even before I started doing other businesses, I was only doing that business for 5 years before I decided to do any other business.
That's a good point. You were able to solidify your space, or your footing in that space before even venturing off to do any other business. Now why taxes? And I want to say you were primarily doing personal and now you're doing business, or are you getting into business taxes?
Right. So it's kind of hard for people to kind of understand like how the flow of taxes is. So I do business, small business owners, but it depends on what you select as far as taxation and what your business entity is. So for a lot of small business owners, you might have small business owners who are single member LLC, you might have gig economy, independent contractors, and with a lot of them, they file Form Schedule C, which Form Schedule C is ultimately filed with your individual taxes. So primarily I've done individual tax returns and small business tax returns for people who are sole proprietors and single member LLCs who have not elected to be taxed as an S corp. Now I'm going into corporate partnerships and nonprofit taxes, which is more of the more sophisticated to me tax side of taxes. So yeah, I'm dabbling into that. And I'm dabbling into that because I've been fine, because I've been doing taxes for 20 years doing individual tax returns. I've always been educated on that side. I just never chose to go on that side. But I felt like as I've grown as a business owner, so my clients has actually grown with me and they are now needing that type of service. So they don't want to go nowhere else. So I had to choose to do that. Plus, I leave a lot of money on the table because, you know, when you're educated in a certain area and you provide that value all the way around, I'm always getting people who file S Corps, C Corps, nonprofits, asking me to do their taxes every year. And because I wasn't doing them, I will always have to leave that money on the table. So it's time to pick that money up.
I know that's right. So, uh, Gwennetta, you have a very unique accent. Where are you originally from?
It's country, okay. I'm from Columbus, Georgia. It's not like it used to be the second biggest city in Georgia. I don't know if it still is or not, but I'm from Columbus, Georgia. I consider it a small town, but you know, we have a little country accent.
So tell me about Columbus and how you growing up in Columbus has, helped fueled who you are today.
Well, you know, growing up in Columbus, to me, again, it seemed as like this, you know, known as like one of the second biggest cities in Georgia, but it's more to me like a small town because it's small town thinking, right? To where when I was growing up, being an entrepreneur in this city wasn't looked at as something that a lot of people did, especially at the time that I became an entrepreneur. But what it did do is it groomed me to be able to, I say, practice. So I started my business here and I was able to practice and bump my head in my hometown before I was able to put myself out there to the masses. So what it did do is it grounded me and it gave me the experience that I need to be able to compete on a bigger, I say, platform and bigger field to go in other cities. Now, what a lot of people don't know about me is I actually live in Columbus, Georgia still, but I also live in the outskirts of Atlanta as well. So I've been traveling back and forth from Columbus to Atlanta, and being a resident of both really, for the last 15 years.
Wow. Now, and you have a location for both. So, okay.
Yeah, so I have a location in Columbus, Georgia. That's my corporate location. I consider that's my corporate location. And then
Okay.
I have a location, and we're talking about Xpert Tax Service in Stone Mountain, Georgia. But the crazy part is I operate most of my businesses in both cities. So even with my real estate license, like a lot of agents, they're only able to sell usually in the city that they're in, or have access to in a mile radius. For me, I have access to both homes in Columbus and homes in the Atlanta area. I operate my nonprofit organization in Columbus and in the Atlanta area. So I do mostly all my businesses in both areas.
That's interesting. Talk a little bit about your upbringing, if you don't mind sharing. So who's
For, for
Gwennetta?
So for me, I feel like my upbringing and the things that I endured when I was younger is the reason why I'm the person I am today. I feel like when I was younger, I was looked at as an underdog. Because I never really cared about education, even though I care about it so much when I was younger. A lot of people don't know that I actually graduated in summer school. I didn't even graduate on time. And I think that was the pivotal moment in my life, that at that moment when I felt like I went through like disappointment and failure, I never wanted to experience that feeling again. I never wanted to be looked at as a failure. And I think that actually honestly turned me into an overachiever.
Wow. Wow. Now that's a story. So but you are how do you have brothers and sisters? Like,
Yeah,
what is that look like?
so I have an older brother, not older brother. I have an older sister who actually works in all of my companies with me. And then I have a younger brother who is actually 15 years younger than me. And he's an entrepreneur as well. He's actually followed in I call him my mini me as a male. You know, he followed in my footsteps of entrepreneurship. He actually owns a flooring company, and he travels all around the southeast doing flooring. So we have like I consider us an entrepreneur family at this point.
Now, would you say you were the person that started you guys off, or was this something that you saw in your family?
No. So I would say I'm the first generation of making money, growing business, and building generational wealth.
Wow.
So yeah. So looking at my family and just who they were and the things that they did, I wanted to be different. Like I said, I graduated in summer school and I didn't want to fall in the trap of being what I've seen around me. I felt like I wanted to be bigger and better. When my brother was born, like I said, he's 15 years younger than me. When my brother was born, I don't have any kids. He was considered my baby. I just felt like for him, my sister kids, I have God kids, they was like my fuel to say that I want them to know that any dream is possible. And I want them to see that by my actions and the thing that I build in life, you know. I wanted them not to want to have to worry about anything or ask anybody for anything. But I also wanted to show them that with hard work, that you can do whatever you want to do, and that making money wasn't about just being a lawyer, because nothing wrong with that, being a lawyer, being a doctor, doing sports. Like, you can make money other ways. And so everything I've done in my life, in my business, has been about making a difference for the next generations to come.
Now, you mentioned that what you do inspires, you want to inspire other people. Who inspires you?
God. And then I know that sounds very cliche. And people hate when I say that. They be thinking I'm about to say somebody's name. I'm not. I honestly can't say. I have people that I just look at and I watch and, you know, I learn from when it comes to like people in the world. But there's nobody just walking this earth that I'm looking at like they're my motivation. I want to be like them. Honestly, if you just want me to be 100% real, like I get up every
We
single
want it real.
I get up every single day to do God's will. It's bigger than me. It's not about me. It's about what he wants from me, the assignments he has for me, the impact in other people's lives that he want me to make. If it was up to me, I'll be over here in a cut, working a job, not having to deal with all this chaos when it comes to being a business owner and having that responsibility and that load that you have to carry. I want me doing all that. I only do this because God's will. Like, when I started in business, I didn't even have a mentor. I didn't have a mentor and start getting coaching until like maybe 2020. Out of all these, and I've been in business 18 years. So my whole being of being a business owner has been literally the guidance from God. I can't even tell you like one specific person that helped me get to where I'm at. Because I didn't really have that. I mean, I had people that along the way I might have learned something from, but as far as like being guided, not a whole lot, not one person in particular. It's literally been the things that God has downloaded in me, the direction that He has led me, the information that He has made sure that I got, and then just making mistakes and learning from them, and kept on going when when I fell down.
So, what is your legacy that you are leaving, and how are you making sure that what you're doing is going to last beyond you?
So the legacy that I'm leaving is for the people that are connected to me, is to continue to make impact from the things that I've already done on earth. And when I say that is like the money that I made is not the legacy that I want to live. The legacy that I want to leave is the service that I've given to others. And the services that I have given are the things like, for instance, with my nonprofit for 16 years now, we fed thousands of people for Christmas and provided thousands of toys for families. I've given thousands of back to school supplies and fed again thousands of families. I've contributed to so many other people, um, organizations to be able to make impact in other people's lives. I mentor so many young people to get to the areas in their lives that they're trying to go to when it comes to entrepreneurship. So the legacy that I'm trying to leave is ultimately is service, and I'm able to leave that by the people that the kids, they're not kids no more, but the young adults that are around me, that they play a pivotal part of everything that I do since they was little kids. And I instruct them and I teach them this is what we're here to do. And I tell them not just what we're here to do, but I've already said when I will leave this earth, this is the thing that needs to be continued on. But I don't just tell them that, I show them how to do it so that it can continue to go on and on for generations to generations.
So, this podcast, we named it Wealth. And the reason we named it Wealth is because I feel like rich isn't the goal. Rich is you die and so does your money. What wealth is generation and generation and generation. Our culture, and we've gotten better. Some have gotten better. We tend to, instead of passing that baton and giving that person, better start than what we had, sometimes they're starting further back or at the same place. And that's never the goal that we should have in life. So what does that wealth look like for you as you're leaving? I know we talked about legacy, but what does it actually look like if you were to leave here tomorrow? What does that look like?
So for me, one, I made sure that I had a significant amount of insurance money, right? So I didn't get just insurance to bury me. I got insurance that when I leave, everybody in my family is gonna at least walk away with 100K, right? And not only that, I've left money. I've took out money that when I leave, that it's enough money to continue the businesses, right? But that's not gonna leave the wealth, right? So the important part of right now that I'm doing is I'm teaching them how to run the businesses, the importance in investing and doing certain things with their money, and just different components, so that when something happens to me, that they're able to take over the things that I've created and continue to keep them running. I think the biggest thing when it comes to people who have businesses and different financial gain, you can leave it to someone, but if they don't have the knowledge to keep it,
Right.
it can't continue to go. So
Right.
that's one of the most important things for me. I have money set aside. Well, not set aside. I got money in place that when I leave, it can continue to flow. And then I'm doing all that I can while I'm here to continue the education so that it can come into conjunction. But not only that, I have land and other things that I can pass down that can continue to, of course, leave our legacy of wealth.
So, listen, we can't talk about Dr. Gwennetta without mentioning her bestie. So, I said, "Oh my goodness, this is very unique." But, you have a bestie, Miss Deontay B, that you partner a lot with. And we're running a women's organization. Whoo, it's a lot. Just even dealing with a lot of women. Sometimes you get women who, I always say, they're not healed, because then you have the other issues, the jealousy, or, them not really, just a whole lot of stuff. But, you have been able to maintain a friendship and then a partnership. What does that look like for you? What advice do you give to other women who, hey, why don't you guys do more partnerships together? Because, when we first started, or when I first started Southern Crescent, I was dealing with like Coca-Colas and stuff like that. And, we were already in conversations with other companies to do joint venture agreements, because that's really where the money was. And I mean, I'm not to say we can't have a little piece of that and bring that back around. But I just saw so many different things and dealing with the women that it is like, whoo, it's a challenge. You got to just kind of say, you got to keep, yeah. So anyway, what is your advice, and how do you guys make sure that, one, you're keeping, that camaraderie, that sisterhood, and you're able to work so well together?
I'm gonna tell you, we rare. I'm just gonna be real 100. Like, we're rare. We actually have been friends over 30 years. We met when we was 14, 15 years old. Um, we are totally opposite, like totally different, but we're so similar in so many ways. Um, just a short story, like Deontay, she never wanted to be no business owner for real. Her background is in entertainment, so all her life she's modeled, and she was an actress, and she was a dancer. She's done mostly everything in entertainment. But because she was my best friend, and because our relationship is just so unique, at the point in my business where I needed somebody I could trust. Because I pretty much run my office in Columbus. She run my office in Atlanta. And I did have another best friend that I had known longer than Deontay, actually, that we actually had that issue. But we okay now. But I needed, even though she was my best friend, I always knew I needed Deontay in my business to protect me, you know, to have my back, because of the griminess. And so she
you have experienced that.
Oh yes, baby, yes. Yes, I lost the friendship. Well, we're back friends. I mean, we worked through it or whatever, and that's a whole story. And we get ready to have our podcast. And we're gonna talk about those things. That's my bestie. But I had a friendship that is close to 40 years. Me and Deontay been friends 30 years. Me and her was friends 40 years. And she actually live across the street from me right now. That's how close we is. Like, we live right across the street from each other. We actually had that issue in our business. But I could talk about how we've been healed and how we're bad friends and, you know, just that type of thing. But it took 3 years for us to become bad friends. But with me and Deontay, like, and it could have been an issue. Could have been the same issue with her. Like, you got to know your place, right? You got to know your roles. And when you, right. So when you know your roles, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know with everything you are, that if she make it, I'm good. If I make it, she good. So it ain't it's not necessarily no reason to be jealous, because no matter who's leading, we're still sharing. Right. But then too, I think what has worked out for me and her the most is that we know our roles in every position. When it comes to business, and we respect each other's roles. And when you get to that point, and we don't want each other's lives, you know, you got to have somebody that's in
place.
Right. That literally don't want your life, because that's where the issues come in. Like, you got to know your role, and you got to have people around you that.
But isn't that crazy?
They don't want your life. Because what ends up happening, what I have found in, you know, because I deal with a lot of women, and most of my businesses, like Xpert Tax Service, has literally been built with as a family business. So literally everybody in our families, her family and my family, everybody else's family had worked for me, right? So I've experienced it a lot. And I would tell anybody that's working with anybody, like, you gotta pay attention to the signs. I feel like I just be led by the Holy Spirit, really, to be honest with you. And I'm always praying and asking God to reveal and show me what's in front of me. But what ends up happening is you'll start a relationship with people and everything's good. And then unfortunately, we in a world where envy comes up, because I could never say that me and Deontay have never been envy of each other in some aspect. I think everybody has that, right? I think it's about what you do with it. Like, is it jealousy or is it envy? Is it just like, I wish I had that part of my life, but I still want you to have it? Like, it's those things that you have to, like, really understand. And when somebody get in your space and they feel like they want your life, that's a dangerous thing. And I think a lot of times women can't work together, because soon as we get together, it's like, and we introduce to something, we see somebody else's life, it's like, oh, I want your life. But then the other thing, if I want to be,
you know what, I don't think that that's someone who knows who they are
anymore. But do you know, most people don't know who they are, though.
You know what I'm saying? That's a little scary.
Yeah, most people do not know because
if you really really sat with your creator, whomever it is you feel like created you, you would know exactly what it is you need to be doing on this earth. And you have to take the time. You got to quiet the noise around you. And you have to be okay with spending time by yourself too. And really hear what your, again, creator has to say. Because everybody has a purpose. And
Everybody.
everybody's purpose don't look the same.
Everybody. But I also think it's about the environments that people are in. I think a lot of times a lot of division become with us working with each other is about outside people. Like a lot of times it's a lot of outside people. So I use this as an example. So me and you working together and we're working together, we're doing all these projects, we're making a difference. And so when you're having conversations with people, usually your conversation is based off what you got going on in your life, right? So then you're going home, you're talking to other people about what you got going on with this person. And then that creep of jealousy and envy and stuff from other people creeps into people's ear. And sometimes people don't understand, because that's the enemy, right? People don't understand, like, the enemy comes to kill, steal, destroy, and divide.
Hey.
Right? And because of that, then just because it might not be even intentional,
Yeah.
that division come in, and if you're not strong enough, right, and you don't know who you are, then what ends up happening is that division comes. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. And people don't even know, because they're not even aware, again, who they are, and then we taught not to get along. Like you hear so much like, I don't want to work with women, and I can't work with women, and it's women can't work together. They can work together if you all are working on a common goal, if you know who you are. Like, I can't be intimidated by what nobody else got going on, because I know exactly who I am, I know exactly what I want, and I know where I'm trying to go. But most people don't know that. So because they don't know that, it's like when I go get a glimpse of somebody else's life, it's like, oh, their life look pretty good. They don't know all the mess you go through. They're just looking at the good part, and they're like, oh, okay, I think I want their life. I think I can do what they're doing. And then that's where it comes in. It like, I don't know.
Yeah, I always, and I'm so glad, because I teach my daughter, you got to be a leader. You can't be a follower. There's this thing called covetousness, and you don't know what people go through, because, in order for somebody to get sometimes the level of anointing they have, you have no idea.
You have to go
The
through a lot.
hell.
And I tell people that all the time, like, your greatness is made from your pain. Like, you get to where you're going through your adversity. That part you can't skip. Everybody got it, and even as you go on to your next levels or your journey, it's always some type of adversity or some type of pain that you're gonna have to endure. And I think most people, like, it's easy for them to fold. And so because they I don't know. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. It's a lot.
Well, listen, we have gone over our time.
Okay, girl.
But this was a great conversation. We didn't get to this, so I do want to make sure I have a moment to go there. You're in media. Now talk about the media portion.
All right. So with my best friend, Deontay.
That's how I met you initially. Right? Yep, we have a joint friend that's a publicist, and I don't even know why I was at her event. She invited me and I came and I supported him, but yes. So talk a little bit about the media side.
So It derived from my best friend. Okay. Be- because she put her dream on hold for me to
Mhm.
help me run these businesses, and God brought it back around so that we can live out her dream and the things that she wanted to do. And so that's where the media component came from. We have a talk show which is called Gwen's Business Corner with Deontay B, where we bring on different business professionals and business owners in reference for them to, discuss their challenges, what they have going on, to provide tools and resources to other entrepreneurs or people
Y'all
that's
are
looking
doing
to be.
more than just businesses, aren't y'all? I thought y'all were. Well, no,
We
it's Gwen's Business Corner.
no,
Okay.
no. Our primary focus are business owners, and we do business professionals, business professionals. We'll dabble into anything when it comes to like awareness for the business community, entertainment community, um, array. And so it's for me, it's a twofold. Again, it's about educating, inspiring, and that one is entertaining. That's our values. Um, we used to have a channel which was GBC Media, where we streamed on Roku, Apple, Android, Amazon Fire Stick. But we actually was gonna get a show up because it had became too much. But God wouldn't let us. He was like, "No, I ain't through using y'all." So, so now gonna stream through YouTube and through our Facebook page. To bring awareness to our audience that we already have, and hopefully to grow that audience. And we've actually had that platform for 7 years. This month actually celebrate 7 years this month. And then we're getting ready to launch. Now our channel is not gone. We're gonna probably rebrand it and put it back up in probably a couple of years. But again, it's that thing about having too much stuff going on, right? And then we have getting ready to launch our podcast, which is called That's My Bestie. Now, that podcast is me and my best friend, Deontay. And this is gonna be more of we'll talk a little bit about business, but it's gonna be more about awareness, just about relationships, different things that we endure as friends, but topics that we feel like should have awareness to it, like mental illness, mental health, because I've been depressed. Like I've been in business 18 years, but I was depressed and dark. And people don't even know, like they didn't even imagine that I was able to run all this stuff in my darkness. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about colorism. We're gonna talk about, divorce, being married, running businesses, just a whole lot of different aspects of a life in reference to one doing life together as best friends and the things that we've experienced, but also just bringing awareness to a lot of different things. So the media portion of it is about, again, everything we do is about making impact and making sure we educate people. And the best way you can educate people and get the information that that needs to be getting out there is by doing it on your own platform. So I encourage anybody to have some type of media platform in conjunction with whatever they got going on.
Absolutely. So, you know, I always use the example of Sheen magazine, you know, great friends with the owners, all that good stuff. But for a while, I don't think people understood that that platform was built just like Bronner Brothers built their platform to be in conjunction with their businesses. So what was Nairobi Products and Congo, and then they added Sheen to help elevate that conversation. So I think it's definitely something that, most business owners, when they want to start elevating their conversation, is something they should consider.
Definitely.
So, is there
Thank you.
anything you want to leave for the listeners? Again, women, wealth, and entrepreneurship. Anything in that space, just being a woman, being an entrepreneur, building wealth. What is it you want to leave?
Um, know that you are enough, right? You are enough in every aspect of your life.
Mhm.
And you can never do enough or have enough, and don't ever limit yourself. Um everything is about what you're willing to sacrifice, how hard you're willing to work, how strong your faith is, and what you're going to commit to. And once you got all those things together, ultimately you can make any impact in your life in all those different areas just by doing those things. And as a woman, we have to tell ourselves often that we are enough. And when you are being a mom or you running a business, sometimes we wear ourselves out. Sometimes, we don't feel like we can continue to go on. Sometimes we don't feel like we're worthy. But one thing that I'm trying to do for myself, and I encourage all women to do, is always make sure you tell yourself again that you are enough and that you can have anything that ultimately you put your mind to that's available to you. Now make sure y'all follow my main baby, Xpert Tax Service. And you definitely want to follow Xpert Tax Service for two different reasons. One, you want to make sure you're getting educated about your taxes. It's very important that you're educated on your numbers, because taxes is so serious, we take it too lightly. Like the IRS can put liens on your property, they can garnish your wages. So you want to make sure that you're educated on what's actually going on with your taxes. And then two, for my small business owners, you need to make sure that you're keeping up with your books. And with the new BOI that's coming out, it's a requirement, federal requirement for so many business owners. Make sure you stay in tune to Xpert Tax Service.
BOI.
Yes, BOI.
So you got to tell people what the BOI means.
Oh, Lord.
Just quickly, what does BOI stand for?
So it stands for beneficial ownership. God, girl, y'all, information.
Okay.
Ownership information is a new federal requirement that we're getting ready to hear a lot about. So make sure you go ahead and follow my page so that you can stay in the know. And Xpert is spelled with the X and not an E. Somebody should have taught me, baby, don't be spelling stuff wrong.
All right. So follow you at Xpert Tax Services and Dr. Gwennetta, right? I mean, don't
yeah. Follow me at drop the doctors. Follow me at Gwennetta Wright on all social media platforms.
Okay. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure. I didn't want to say what today was because I'm not sure when we're going to get this out, but hopefully we'll get it out pretty quickly. But it's technically Podcast Day, International Podcast Day. And when we set this up, I was like, okay, I know I have a meeting, but I got to get this in because I really want to know more about Gwennetta, Dr. Gwennetta. But it has been an absolute pleasure having you. Now, you told us how to follow you. What's your website?
So my website is www.Xpert. Remember, it's spelled with the X now. Xpert Tax Services with the S on the end.com. I have a lot of different ebooks that you can purchase in reference to business credit, knowing your responsibility as a business owner, and then you can actually, wherever you're at, you can get your taxes prepared with us.
Absolutely. Is that all the other pages we're following? Is there more?
Baby, if I don't want to be all day,
okay.
But yeah, you can follow Gwen Business Corner because we're getting ready to drop all our new information. So follow Gwen Business Corner, follow Xpert Tax Service, shop Pretty Essentials. I don't want to give y'all no more, but at any rate,
just wearing Pretty Essentials. Thank you. It was my gift.
So yeah, if you follow Gwennetta Wright, you follow me on all social media platforms, you'll get to everything else I got.
All right. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Listen, and I've been interviewed with you, and now this is my time interviewing you. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Thanks, Gwennetta. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Again, this has been another episode of Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship with Ariel Shaw, MBA. Thank you for joining us. And if you have not, download our new theme song,
Women in Business theme song by Miss Lacey. You've heard it here, and we are so excited that you've joined us. Thank you and have an amazing day.